So first up, we're going to talk about immigration. Because a lot of people said I had to vote for Joe Biden because of immigration, right? Do you remember that? Everybody talked about, I was shamed by everybody that the kids in cages and you don't care about immigrants and you're a bad person if you don't vote. If I was told that about Hillary, if you don't vote for Hillary Clinton, you don't care about immigrants, Mexicans, and you're a bad person and kids in cages and what kind of a horrible monster are you that you don't, you're voting wrong. Right? They're voter shaming me. And then I said, well, no, I think that Donald Trump will probably, everyone will become aware of how horrible the immigration policies are under Obama and Biden, and they'll stop them. And that's exactly what happened. Donald Trump ended up deporting a little bit more than half as many as Barack Obama deported in his first term. Isn't that interesting? He wasn't able to deport as many. And so this whole idea that you have to vote for a Democrat if you care about people is what's called propaganda. And here's some more of this propaganda. So here's the truth. The U.S. removed over 6,000 Haitian asylum seekers from the border at Del Rio. It is planning 6 deportation flights on Tuesday, denying many their legal right to asylum using Trump-era policy. I like how they're planning 6 deportation flights. A man at the border with 2 children said the U.S. government has no conscience. I mean, so there it is. He's using Trump-era policy to screw over the most vulnerable people in the hemisphere. Right? They're suffering from earthquakes. And here, Joe Biden says Donald Trump, this is what he said in March of 2020. Donald Trump's remain in Mexico policy is dangerous, inhumane, and goes against everything we stand for as a nation of immigrants. My administration will end it. Breaking, the Biden administration has appealed the district court's decision to block Title 42, arguing it is in the interest of public health to deport families before they can seek asylum. So this is what's known as meet the new boss, same as the old boss, which is what I told people. So voting for Joe Biden because you thought he would have better policies than Donald Trump was a pipe dream, especially when it comes to immigration. What we're experiencing is that under Democrats, immigrants have a much harder time. They're not getting rid of ICE. No one's even talking about it. I thought ICE was the devil. They never bring it up anymore that Trump's not president. They never bring up ICE. Deport ICE. Ocasio-Cortez wears it as a hat, but she never actually does anything to get rid of ICE. End ICE. By the way, here's the Homeland Security under Biden. If you come to the United States illegally, you will be removed. Please do not attempt a perilous journey. So he's doing a 180. So all this idea that you had to vote blue because you care about brown people is bullshit. Advocates in utter disbelief after Biden resumes Haitian repatriations. I like how they call it Haitian repatriations. That's a nice term for deporting. This is the country. Oh, here it is. Here's your tweet. This is the country that puts sanctions on other countries for human rights violations. And they show the people from the Border Patrol whipping. They're on horses and they're whipping people.
Who are seeking asylum.
They're whipping people. Like, I don't know if that brings anything to your mind, Nick, but it does bring to mind slave patrols.
Yep. Yeah, vote blue no matter who was probably the biggest political con job I've seen in a long time. Because liberals, they are only immigration activists when you have a Republican in charge. And this is why liberals are such a threat to Black lives, because what they do, they put Black Lives Matter in their profile pic. They pretend they care about disenfranchised communities. But the second a Democratic Party take control, they don't care. Not only do they don't care, I was looking at the defense that a lot of liberals was what they have for Joe Biden, and they was actively defending this stuff. So what they do is they claim they're going to fight white supremacy, gain political capital, and then they use that political capital to go after the communities that helped them win in the first place. Enough of this stuff. This is nonsense. This is why I told people that Joe Biden, he only been the lesser of two evils for privileged white people thus far. That's it. And I'll say only because the privileged white people, they benefit because now people are going back to sleep. We had an army of people that was in the street that was ready to shut shit down. But now people are quiet. You don't hear anything. People don't care about this stuff no more.
Yeah, you mean all last year during the Black Lives Matter protests, people were ready to shut shit down, and now Joe Biden is doing arguably worse things, and everyone's silent. This is exactly why I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, because It puts the left to sleep. When a Democrat's in charge, it puts the left to sleep. They become unaware to all the horrible things that Barack Obama and Joe Biden did, which is why they were able to elect Joe Biden with a clear conscience. Joe Biden's a monster. Joe Biden is a murdering monster. A racist, murdering monster who's the architect of the current criminal justice system, racist criminal justice system. He's the one who armed those cops, like militarized the cops in America. He's the architect of the prison system. He's why you can't declare bankruptcy for medical bills or student debt. That Joe Biden is your enemy. And voting for Joe Biden is voting against your own interest unless you're a millionaire. So voting for Joe Biden was against everyone's interests. But he's not going to tweet as bad. So I just want to let you know what's going on with Joe Biden and his immigration with Haitians. We are absolutely disgusted by the Biden administration's decision to deport thousands of Haitians 1 month after the devastating earthquake and storm that resulted in 2,200 deaths and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. Families who lost everything in the 7.2 magnitude earthquake are now living through flash floods and mudslides. The destruction is large scale and unprecedented, worsening Haiti's already unstable political and social infrastructure. Haiti is one of the most vulnerable countries to the effects of climate change, and we can expect climate disasters to continue to devastate the nation in the years to come. Seeking asylum is an internationally recognized human right, yet Haitians are being denied due process, locked in detention, and deported to unstable and unsafe conditions. It is unconscionable to send people back to a country in ruin. Biden tells migrants, "Don't come," in an ABC News exclusive interview. Don't come. That's probably going to be a slogan in 2024. Harris's blunt message in Guatemala, "Don't come." So there's a big difference from George Bush. Biden tells migrants, "Do not come." Do everything he can to stop them from getting here, sending them back if they do make it, and denying them the legal right to apply for asylum. Someone please explain to me how this is different than Trump. How is this different than Trump? In fact, it is not. So if you voted for Biden because you were worried about immigrants, how does it feel to be a chump? How does it feel? Because you're a chump. They played you like a sucker. Glenn Greenwald says, compare all the poetic and melodramatic condemnations which Democrats issued about the treatment of migrants during the Trump years to their conduct now. How dumb do you have to be to keep falling for their simplistic frauds? And then Glenn goes and shows you, that's when Trump was president. But now that Biden's president, she goes to $30,000 plate dinners and never talks about this.
Biden's doing better than expected.
That's right. He's getting an A. He gets an A.
Gets an A, doing better than expected. Their job, AOC job and the squad job, is to do PR for the Democratic Party. I used to be a supporter. You had her on the show before. I thought they were supposed to be challenging the Democratic Party establishment, right. But the only thing they do is attack Republicans and do PR for the Democratic Party. The same thing that AOC claimed to care about when Donald Trump was president, also the serial bombings as well. She's dead silent when Joe Biden is president. That's why these people are frauds.
Seems like everybody involved with the Justice Democrats has slowly, some very quickly, some much slower than others, have just turned into defending Democrats and attacking Republicans.
Yeah, when Bernie dropped out, my mindset was I was going to shift further to the left. I was going to double down and become even more anti-establishment. There is a large segment of Bernie supporters and people who are progressives who, once Bernie lost, they're like, okay, I guess we just gotta be normal Democrats now. We gotta be normal / progressive Democrats. We can't really challenge the party that much. When the move was to double down and shift to the left, even support third parties at that point. But their role now is just to be like the slightly left of center Democrats that appeal to young people, because the Democratic Party was bleeding support with young people for years under the Barack Obama administration. And then AOC and the Justice Democrats came and they saved the Democratic Party ass because they was bleeding support with the young people. But AOC is funneling them right back into the party, even though we had no reason to support them anymore.
Well, here's what you said about their immigration stance. You said, if the photo of the Border Patrol agents whipping Haitian immigrants dropped while Donald Trump was president, there would be nonstop media coverage and liberals would be losing their shit right now. Partisan politics makes my skin crawl, and I couldn't agree with that more. Imagine if they had videotape of Border Patrol people whipping immigrants. That would be on a loop that would play 24/7 on MSNBC and CNN, and it would never stop. It would be everywhere. But it's happening under Joe Biden, just like the cages were built under Joe Biden, just like the immigrants were gassed under Joe Biden at the border, and no one cares because it's a Democrat doing it.
How many tweets have you seen from liberals that say, oh, I can't believe this is not us? Remember in Trump,
right?
They kept saying, oh, this is not us. I can't believe this is America. Where are those tweets? You're never going to see that with Biden. My argument back then was, yes, this is exactly who we are. And you're not going to have a president or a party that will change the direction of the violent U.S. empire.
Well, here's another tweet from you. You say Joe Biden is just like Donald Trump, but he has the complete loyalty and complicity of the media. This is exactly why I was warning you guys. Joe Biden is so effing dangerous. That is exactly right. It is wild to see the complicity of the media around Joe Biden. It is crazy to see it, and it's ubiquitous. If you don't want refugees seeking asylum in the United States, then stop overthrowing their democratically elected governments and stealing their resources. It's not effing rocket science. I'm with you 100%. America denies any involvement in the Haiti coup attempt. Oh, yeah. So we overthrow their governments. We screw them over economically, and then when people come here for asylum, we kick them out. Here's Joe Biden. You want to hear Joe Biden? What he said about Haiti? Watch this.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interests.
It wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interests. So let's go ahead and sink it while we overthrow their leadership. Here's a little
so
bit.
When someone show you who they are, you believe them.
Yeah.
This is why I believe them. I was telling people, and I got so much heat. I'm sure the same as you, Jimmy, because I was a young black man. I would say, I'm not going to vote for Jim Crow Joe. He's one of the most racist politicians that we've seen in my lifetime. I would say in the last 40 or 50 years, one of the most racist politicians. He always had a deep-seated hatred for the Haitian people. And now there are a lot of people who have to reconcile with the fact that they voted for a racist segregationist. That's not me vote shaming. That's me just pointing out a fact. You guys had Trump derangement syndrome, and that made you guys vote for a straight up hardcore racist.
That's 100%. 100%.
If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti...
Here's Secretary Antony Blinken. He said, just arrived in New York City for UNGA 76 high-level week. Looking forward to meeting with our partners and allies to discuss the way forward on COVID-19 and addressing its impacts, combating the climate crisis, and promoting respect for human rights and democratic values globally. Oh, my God. You want to see promoting respect for human rights? U.S. again votes against UN to call to end embargo. COVID-19, lift the sanctions, bringing suffering. And this here they are. U.S. again votes against UN to call to end Cuba embargo. That's how much we care about human rights and suffering. Israel-Palestine, U.S. blocks UN statement for a third time in a week. UN Human Rights Council to turn attention on systemic racism in the United States. You want to help people? You can start right here. You want to spread democracy? Why don't you spread some democracy in the United States? Because we live in an oligarchy. You want to help people with human rights? We're the world's largest penal colony, and we imprison black and brown people over drug possession crimes. Do you want to let them go? COVID-19, lift sanctions bringing suffering and death, urged UN rights experts. Lift the sanctions bringing suffering and death, urge UN. But we're not lifting the sanctions on Syria or Iran or Cuba or anywhere else that we have sanctions on. Yemen. So that's the bullshit side of the vote blue no matter who, Joe Biden. If you care about Mexicans and immigrants and Hispanics, you better vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have locked up more black and brown people than Donald Trump. I'll tell you that. And they certainly deported a lot more, to almost double. So you're a chump and a sucker of the highest order if you believe that anybody in the Democratic Party gives a shit about black and brown people who are in power right now. Because if they did, they'd be saying something, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they be saying something, Nick? Where is AOC? Why didn't she have on the back of her thing, the kids are still in cages? Why didn't she have that on the back of her dress when she went into that party for $30,000 a plate at the Met Gala? Why didn't it say the kids are still in cages?
I still remember when Ice Cube gave us the warning, where Ice Cube himself said, we need to start making demands for the people before we vote for them.
Yes.
And that is where my premise was, because especially as someone from the black community, we've been screwed over politically for the last few decades. And the reason why we were screwed, because we vote for a Democrat at around an 85 to 90% rate. So if you vote for Democrats at an 85 to 90% rate, why would they listen to you? Because they already know they're going to have your vote. So their strategy has been clear for the last few years. They've been going after the white suburbanite class. That's why in 2022, they are seriously running on expanding police budgets. We just talked about how last year there was a giant protest last summer to fight against the police. And now the Democratic Party is mocking them to their face because the Black Lives Matter organization was funneling people to the Democratic Party to the point where even when Joe Biden won, Black Lives Matter and the organization was like, this is a great win for us. So now the Democrats know that they have Black Lives Matter and the African American community on their side. They're going to go after the people who don't vote for them, the right winger, the conservatives. So it never makes sense on face value that you would vote for a party and then you act shocked that they were not representing you. You gave up your vote. That's the game. You already lost. So it never makes sense. And I was begging people to have a list of demands. Now, with Joe Biden, the second that Joe Biden won, there's no way we should vote for him because it was clear that he was going to lie about anything it took for him to win. He said he was going to de-escalate the drug war. He actually expanded Trump's mandatory minimums. He said he was going to ramp down ICE, but he's funding ICE more. He used Title 42. I think he's deporting about 250,000 more people than Donald Trump did under this program. And I predicted that Donald Trump will that Joe Biden would deport more people to Donald Trump the same way that Barack Obama in his first term, if you compare first term to first term, Barack Obama deported more people than Donald Trump.
Almost double. Double.
Yeah, almost double. Wow. So once again, that's the same thing that's going to happen to Joe Biden because that's the ratchet effect in action. So once the Overton window been shifted to the right, the Democrats will continue to do the exact same thing the Republicans has done, but the media will cover for them. Their celebrities will cover for them. The people who have influence over their voter base, they will cover for them. So it's a fraud, and people need to wake up. And black people will never, or any disenfranchised community, I speak on my community behalf, but no disenfranchised community will ever get what they want until we are willing to put our votes on the line.
That's
and
right.
That doesn't make sense that people are telling us to vote for them, like Black Lives Matter, for example, when we know things are not going to get better. Immigration activists have eggs on their face seeing Joe Biden's administration because they just fell in line because they had Trump derangement syndrome.
Well, here's what Lawrence O'Donnell says. Now, let's remember, Lawrence O'Donnell was the chief of staff for a senator. I always blank on his name. I think it was Monahan. And here's what he says about how you get the Democratic Party to do what you want. Here's what you have to do.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking. You must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party because the left had nowhere to go.
Don't have to listen to anything you say. So the Democratic Party right now is not listening to anything that black and brown people have to say. Would you agree with that, Nick?
Yeah, this is very basic politics here. Like, we're not even talking about like advanced theory of changes. I mean, of course, if you vote for someone, they will assume that you are okay with how they're governing. Why would anyone in the black community be okay with how the Democratic Party is governing after Barack Obama, when Joe Biden was vice president? Black Lives Matter started under Barack Obama for a reason. Because it was extremely anti-black administration, to the point where you have Barack Obama that called protesters in Baltimore thugs. In Ferguson, he was calling them thugs. Same thing that Republicans did. So why would anyone be supportive of this party when they are continuing to expand the state violence against our communities?
So here's the video that you were referring to, Nick. Here's where ICE actually makes a demand for your vote, which, as you point out, is politics 101. You don't pledge your vote to a politician until they tell you what they're going to give you. But it's gotten so warped that you don't get to have a voice. You don't even get to ask a question. You don't even get to make a demand or anything. You just better vote against Trump or you're a bad person and you're in bed with the right-wing racists. That's it. You don't get to ask a question or make a demand. And here's what he said.
The way it look, they don't have a plan. Everybody's, talking about get Trump out, get Trump out, get Trump out. If you vote, that's going to happen on the first day. So now what? Trump out, now what? What? What do we get in the first 100 days? That's what we're trying to figure out. What do we actually get that they could give us overnight like that? They just pulled $3 trillion out their ass and gave it to their friends. That's American taxpayer money. That's your money that they just gave away. And then there's 42% of black businesses closing. None of that money. Where's our fucking bailout? Where's the bailout? Not the PPP loan that they didn't give us. Where's the bailout? I don't want to hear about deficit. I don't want to hear about what our generations gonna have to pay. Because if we don't have shit, they ain't gonna have shit anyway to pay nothing. So we got to start something right now. Democrats don't seem like they got a plan. Republicans don't seem like they got a plan for us. So how the hell you gonna vote for them? Make them earn that vote. They can start today. They ain't got it yet. They can start today. Make their ass earn that vote, man. Stop playing with these people, and they'll stop playing with you.
So that was.
Do you remember when that video first came out? The liberal meltdown. I still remember it to this day because the same people got mad at me for saying that verbatim. I would love to talk to Ice Cube because he's like so close. But the liberal establishment melted down for him for saying something that's very basic. And to me, that was very telling in the direction the Democratic Party was going to go. And that's why I was terrified of the Biden administration. All my worst fears of Biden is coming true.
All I was doing was saying politics 101. Make sure the Democratic Party take care of the black and brown community. And they were like, shut up. How dare you? He's like, no, they're supposed to take care. That's how bad it's gotten. That you're not even allowed to ask the party that's asking for your vote to take care of your community. You're not even allowed to do that. So that's why I keep telling people nothing will change in America for the better until people come to the realization that nobody's fighting for you inside the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Nobody. Look at what's happening. It's all performative. They all completely get folded into the establishment. Every one of them. Bernie Sanders, AOC, every one of them gets folded into the Democratic Party. They get folded into the establishment. There's no help inside those parties. Shama Sawant was right 5 years ago when she said on my show, the road for progressives inside the Democratic Party leads to a graveyard. And until people realize that, they won't stop voting for Democrats and they won't stop donating to them. And until they stop voting for Democrats, the Democrats will never change. You want more Joe Biden? Joe Biden is Donald Trump who just doesn't tweet. That's what you got. You got Donald Trump who doesn't tweet. Because he just gave they gave $5 trillion to their best friends, and they're still not. Joe Biden wouldn't even give you a $600 check. So, I as Lawrence O'Donnell says, but by the way, do I remember this, Nick? Yeah, I featured it on my show immediately. And I showed it on my show, and of course, people hated me for doing that. That this is what you get when you go against the Democratic Party. You're going to get it from both sides. The establishment, left, the center, and right hate you, right? So of course, I caught a lot of shit for that. But I thought rappers were supposed to be the people who wanted to endure the wrath of the establishment. Where are all those people? Why isn't Snoop Dogg screaming? Well, I know why, because he's a billionaire. That's why. Why isn't he screaming at the top of it? Where's our Tupac Shakurs? That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I remember I quit my job and I was canvassing for Bernie, and there was a ton of progressives who used to like me because they saw me on the campaign trail canvassing and talking to people and shifting them to the left. It was when I challenged their groupthink on why we should vote for Joe Biden. That's when there was a ton of progressive-minded Democrats who lost their shit. The idea that they didn't have control over an independent black mind and that I was going to challenge their narrative on vote blue no matter who, that literally drove them insane. And that's because what we're seeing right now, the Democratic Party is where movements go to die. Barack Obama killed the anti-war movement. Barack Obama killed the Occupy Wall Street movement, the same way Joe Biden killed the Me Too movement and Joe Biden killed the immigration justice movement. Conservatives at the end of the day are intellectual lightweights who always lose the battle of ideas. If you look at movements, they always lose. They lost during the suffrage movement. They lost during the civil rights movement. They lost the battle of ideas over weed, over the economy. They always lose. It's the white, moderate liberal who is the biggest obstacle toward change. And I was warning people about that because there's not a biggest I don't even want to call him white moderate because Biden's not a moderate. He's a far right winger. Yes. But this is exactly what I was warning them about because him and his cronies and his supporters are the white moderates that will slow down the movement toward justice for our communities. So even if Donald Trump won, we would still be in the streets fighting against our government for doing the same thing that Biden is doing right now, but no one cares about.
Well, here's Tupac, and here's what he had to say about the current situation of the world, and this was back in the early 90s.
It's too much money here. I mean, nobody should be hitting loud over 36 million and we got people starving in the streets. That is not idealistic. That's just real. That is just stupid. There's no way Michael Jackson should have, or whoever Jackson, should have $1,000,000 billion and then there's people starving. There's no way. There's no way that these people should own planes and their people don't have houses, apartments, shacks, drawers, pants. We all know how hard it is, and it's not about if you good or you bad. So since it's not about if you good or you bad, we know that because he don't mean he was bad. Or don't mean he's a criminal, or don't mean he's crazy, or a drug addict, or none of that. It just means he don't got. I mean, can you imagine somebody having $32 million? $32 million. And this person has nothing? And you can sleep? You can still go to the movies about, I mean, and then these are the type of people that get humanitarian awards.
Yes.
Tupac doing his mother Finney proud. We don't have black celebrities like this anymore, and it drives me crazy. We have black celebrities like Diddy who would do vote or die campaigns. Black celebrities fall in line and vote for Jim Crow Joe, but we're not gonna see any black celebrity that actually have real class consciousness like this now. It's all about flexing their capitalism, flexing black capitalism, and fall in line for the establishment because they care about their careers. This is why you see like Jay-Z, Beyonce, they always do events for Democrats. They are the establishment now. And their job is to sheep herd black people to the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, we used to have rebels like Tupac Shakur. It's like this whole system is fucked up. We shouldn't be accepting this. They have money for war, but they can't feed the poor. This is the message that used to come out of artists like Tupac Shakur. But it's a shame that you don't see anyone who really challenges an establishment the way that Tupac used to do.
And let's good friend of the show, Dylan Radican's going to break it down for you right now what needs to be done.
The Democrats. The Democrats want you to believe that their party is, of course, wonderful and fabulous and wants to help to save the world and all the rest of this. And they want you to believe that the only problem with the American political system is the Republicans, and more importantly, the corruption of the American political system and the Republicans by the Russians. This, of course, would be the most horrible thing that could come from the current political situation. Because if we allow the Democratic Party to convince anybody, ridiculous they've even convinced themselves, that the primary issue with the American political process is Donald Trump and the Republicans, that validates their capacity to sustain themselves in a disgusting and corrupt fashion. The reality is, the only reason we have Donald Trump as our president and these horrendous Republicans is because of the unadulterated failure and corruption in the Democratic Party. Think about how bad, how unappealing, how offensive Barack Obama and ultimately Hillary Clinton had to be to the American population in order for them to even remotely begin to choose someone like Donald Trump as a better alternative. Think about how bad people have to view the level of corruption in the Democratic Party to think of Donald Trump as a remotely preferable alternative. Donald Trump is terrible. The Republicans are offensive beyond comprehension. But the solution is not the Democrats. The solution is a final terminal bypass of these two utterly corrupt political parties. And the Democrats are desperately fighting to try to convince you and everybody else that the only problem is the Republicans and Trump, and that they are quite actually perfect in their own way, when they are the ones who are the biggest contributors to the Trump campaign and the Trump problem.
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and this is why we saw Barack Obama lose so many seats, because people became so upset with the Democratic Party and their failed promises. We still don't have any real way to measure it, but the disappointment that Barack Obama was to my generation it shifted so many people away from the Democratic Party, because if you talk to many black leftists, we have a very similar origin story where we thought Barack Obama was going to be like a savior of our people. Barack Obama disappointed us and we shifted hard to the left. And those people being disappointed by Barack Obama led to the Democratic Party losing so many seats during Barack Obama's term, and it led to Donald Trump winning. But they had to deflect so many different ways. Oh, it was Russia. Oh, it was misinformation. No, people know what's going on. They just know both parties suck. So Trump won. But as I mentioned before, you have progressives like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the Squad that saved the Democratic Party, because a lot of people in my generation was done. But now what AOC and Bernie does, they give the false illusion that the Democratic Party is the route to go in order for progressive change. Now, even that is starting to fall apart, because I am now seeing people, younger and young people, that are now starting to see AOC and Bernie as bullshitters. So we'll see, because I think a lot of people see a red wave coming in 2022. But the Democrats don't really care, because even if the Democrats lose in 2022, they'll get cycled back into lobbyist positions. They probably get MSNBC contract as well. So it doesn't really matter, because they only represent their donors. They don't really care if they win or lose at the end of the day. It's just one revolving door.
Hi, everybody. I'm coming to do stand-up in your town. I'm coming to Florida, October 2021, Buffalo, New York, 22 through the 24th, and lots of other places. Portland, Oregon. We're going to Harlow's in Sacramento, October 3rd, to do a live Jimmy Dore show. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all tickets.